Hey guys, I am Ibigandscary and I'm bringing you a new StarCraft 2 replay, this one featuring a Zerg versus Zerg on Damarung. In the top right corner for the blue Zerg we have Donut, in the bottom left we have XXL, extra large red Zerg. Damarung, I'm not really super familiar with the map. I mean, a lot of people play it, it's definitely in the pool, but I guess I just haven't been lucky enough to play on it. Some easy to diagnose features though: medium to small sized ramp leading down into the natural, which is just right there. Two different ways out of the natural, one guarded by destructible rocks to make the choke a little bit wider, and then the other one leads up to the third, which is in a much more exposed area in the top left corner, a bit towards the enemy, with another way off into the common ground, which has two Zelnaga towers with some smoke. The cool thing about this map is this destructible debris right here. It opens up a whole new avenue to get to the enemy. Another great way to flank some of those large death balls that the Protoss seem to favor. As far as openings go, rather boring. We're both at 15 supply. XL throwing down an extractor, Donut following suit. So some gas before spawning pool. Spawning pool going down for Donut. I'm already going to have problems keeping these names straight, even though they're so original. I love donuts, and extra large donuts would be preferable to normal sized donuts, to say the least. So two spawning pools. The rush distance for this map is at best moderate. It could be considered long. So the amount of pressure that's going to be coming out of the two players early on is going to be limited. But since it's a ZVZ, I mean, you always wind up having pressure. You always wind up having a ridiculous amount of Zerglings just bull rushing the other player's probe line, and it's hard to get away from that. With the early gas, we can definitely expect some speed. We can expect some banelings. Again, that's all common fare. Both players throw down queens at comparable timing. I honestly don't know which one threw it down first, and it looks like Donut gets the speed half a second before XL. So both players mimicking the other, just standard fare for now. First round of Zerglings going off by XL, and it looks like Donut and XL are both getting into position to grab their naturals without scouting the other players besides their overlords. Obviously, they know where the other ones spawned, and they know what the other player is going to be doing. They're going to get that spawning pool up. They're going to get their first expansion up, because Zerg really struggles if it tries to play a one-base play that's not super cheesy. Looks like XL's doing his first deviation. He's grabbing his second queen, while Donut is grabbing some extra Zerglings just to prevent XL from getting in that scouting Zergling. However, he doesn't succeed. XL gets his Zergling in, just sees a spawning pool, single gas with no drones mining on it. Both players stopped mining off of their gas once they got the 100 gas necessary to research the Zergling speed. Once that second queen pops out, XL is going to move her down to the other expansion. It appears that Donut's also popping out his second queen, while the first one gets into position down at the natural. A large swell of Zerglings extra pop out from Donut as he moves down to do some harassment, maybe punish XL for grabbing the expansion. But again, Donut grabbed the expansion also, so both of them are going to have pretty much comparable sizes. Donut's forces meet up. Now the Zerglings are pretty much neck and neck in size of army, 15 to 16. 17 probes, 2 queens. It's pretty much the exact same. However, XL's reacting strongly to the added pressure from Donut, and he's creating a dozen more Zerglings, which will push Donut back. XL's also throwing down a spine, so Donut's early pressure, as long as he doesn't lose these Zerglings, is going to succeed in scaring XL and overreacting to his defense, which is really a good idea, because in ZVZ, every hit from a Baneling, every drone that goes down from harassment, just really, the difference between the two just gets huge by the end of it. Every unit counts, is what I'm trying to say there. Good engagement for Donut. He had a smaller number of Zerglings, so he wanted to prevent XL from getting a good surround, while Donut used his Queen to kind of shell artillery fire down on the Zerglings, so he definitely came out the winner on that. We can see that Donut's actually taken more as far as resources lost, but that's due mainly to the early pressure that he did, which caused XL to overreact. We can see that Donut got a Baneling Nest up, which is a fantastic idea. He's also working on a evolution chamber. Baneling Nest is a great idea because 1 or 2 Banelings can just decimate this entire cluster of Zerglings, which will either deny XL his ability to harass Donut, or more likely it could just cripple a probe line in one well-placed hit. XL is grabbing another gas. Let's see, Donut is still just on the 1, which means he's going to be severely limited in his ability to create those Banelings. At the same time, some Zerglings cart in. See that there's 2 spine crawlers there. Know that if they're going to do a run by, they're going to get boxed in by these Zerglings. So any Zerglings that Donut decides to send in there are probably not going to come out. We can see the unit counting station 37 drones to XL to 33 for Donut. So it appears that he's let his drone production kind of slip during the time of increased harassment. Dual evolution chambers going down for XL. It looks like he's going to be playing catch up to Donut's upgrades, but we can see that Donut hasn't even started one, even though he's starting a second evolution chamber. Those just appear for wall on to be made so that they can wall in that little structure right there, prevent a bunch of Banelings rushing in and killing that probe line. Donut going for a hatchery because he's got a good contain on XL right now, and he's denying that third currently. Just making sure it's not there. If XL really wanted it, he could push out, but it doesn't look like it's quite worth it yet. XL's morphing his hatchery into a lair. At the same time, he pushes out with his Zerglings. Donut, though, was ready for it. He pulls back. Same time, morphing in some more Banelings just to be prepared for this large amount of Zerglings rushing in, poking into the third. Donut, though, he's got his guys in position. Good read there by Donut. XL, he knew was moving out, and XL suspected that there was a third. Donut saw it coming, moved down with his Zergling, so he doesn't even need that single Baneling to turn the tide in his favor. He was there with superior numbers. At the same time, XL's grabbing 1 range, 1 armor. Donut is grabbing his first range, so it looks like both players are going to be changing tech. XL's already onto his next tech choice, which would be Roaches. A good choice, especially against the Banelings. Their extra armor will cut the damage done by a single Baneling almost in half, which is very cost effective, especially in this matchup. However, those Roaches get surrounded, and they will go down to the Zerglings, leaving this hatchery exposed to Donut's attack. More Roaches swarm in, and I think that should be enough to clean up this engagement. But maybe not fast enough to save this hatchery. No, those are the Roaches. Target those Zerglings, they go down in short order, leaving that hatchery wounded, but still alive, still capable of creating money. Those Zerglings go down, they get a good scout off. They did not come down just a couple seconds later. They would have seen all of these Roaches. It might be time for XL to do another scouting pass too. He'd see an Infestor pit coming up, and as the armor upgrade begins to get started on the range upgrade finishes. So it looks like Donut's going to be having to pay a little catch up to on the economic side of things, but both players, their supply caps are pretty close. XL's a little above Donut, but most of that is these Roaches, which XL's going to have to do something with them to make them cost effective. You don't want to sit on a large army like that. You want to be constantly harassing the other player, and he could do some major pressure right here. Those 3 spawn crawlers isn't enough to hold back an army of Roaches this much, and you'd force Donut to stop producing as many probes. You see he's got 20 coming. You'd force him to oh, excuse me, that was XL's probes. Donut's only got 8. But you'd still force Donut to be creating more army, less probes, and you don't want to allow Donut to out macro XL. XL, however, because he's got those range upgrades, Hydras seems like a good idea. Go for Roach Hydra. The bundles of units is going to be a pretty fair game to the Infestors' fungal growths. So it's a good choice by both players. It's really going to come down to, can the fungals do enough damage to justify the Infestors, and can XL keep the Hydralisks alive, even though they're kind of weak, to do their insane amount of DPS. Infestor Pit going down for XL as a macro hatch. You can see that there's 2 macro hatches in Donut's main. XL sitting on 1,500 resources, so he's going to have to do something with that. You can see up here XL's not mining from any of that gas. He does have the other ones not fully saturated in the natural, but still, I mean, he's mining gas, and he's got some saved up. So if he's planning on using the Infestors, and you can see he's built one, and he's got the glands on the way too, he's going to need even more gas. Zerg is so gas heavy in the late game, and at 16 minutes or 15:30 right now, we're quickly approaching that late game. Again, XL is floating 2k minerals. Both armies are looking rather intimidating. Not as much Infestors on either side. There's only one out right now that I would like to see. But 10 Hydras and 19 Roaches, that's a pretty good sized force. I don't know how Donut's going to use the Banelings to great effect. Maybe he'll use them to, during the actual attack, sneak them into the probe line. Maybe he'll just wait for those Hydras to get exposed when the Roach line goes down. But one way or another, it'll be a very fast fight, with the Roaches just bursting on each other, and the Hydras will go down pretty quickly once those Roaches fall. There we go. 5 more Infestors being built for both players, so they're finally getting out the army. We can see that the hive is being started by XL. I don't believe. Yeah. Donut is still on the layer. So it looks like XL is going to win the tech race, just rushing to the higher tech. Donut, however, grabs a 4th down in the bottom right corner. In the end, XL's got a superior research. He's got more units, higher tech, and upgrades are what? 2-2 to 1-0? 1-2? So yeah, XL's definitely higher up on the upgrades. Donut is better on the economic side of things, so Donut's going to have to constantly re-macro and rush in, and you can see that while Donut is building 17 Roaches at a time, he's going to have to constantly re-macro, as XL's got almost 5k saved up in the bank. So even though Donut's up on the bases, his saturation's not 100% there. Nydus worm in the top left corner. Roaches streaming down. Not a lot of Roaches. Maybe enough to finish off the hatchery if he was focusing firing. But he decides to waste some time on the queen, some time on the drones. And XL brings up his major force. Donut comes in with his large force of Roaches. Gets pushed back immediately by XL's major large army. Massive fungal going down on both sides, catching a lot of those delicate Hydras. You can just see the health bars beginning to fall. However, those Hydras are capable of dealing out a massive amount of DPS, and that's enough to pick apart those Roaches. When those Roaches go down, these Infestors are left exposed. However, some of them had enough energy for another round of fungals, which was enough to finish off the majority of XL's main force. Same time, Donut swung around with a couple more Roaches, which is being met by some fresh Roaches out of XL's main base. XL is staging his army up here. Maybe that was a rally mistake. Maybe he just believed that the last remaining units of Donut were going to go down from those, and they did. That Nydus is still up, but yeah, XL knows it's up there. He's going to come in and investigate, finally take it down. Looks like Donut's given up on it, though. He's re-rallying his units to the middle of the map, staging. Every second that goes by that XL doesn't have his 4th up is a second that Donut has an economic edge. 4 Roaches pop out of a new Nydus, but they're met immediately by more Roaches and some Infestors. They managed to take out a couple of drones, but not enough to justify their expense. At the same time, Donut is just staging his army, while this area is left surprisingly unguarded. And with that hatchery only at 50 hit points, it could definitely go down if Donut wanted to push in. Another Nydus. Oh my goodness. Where was this one? I honestly don't see it on the minimap. Oh well. Main force rushes in. Here's your Nydus right here in the 5th. Some roaches come in, they meet with heavy resistance at the same time. Donut pushes in with his main force into the natural expand. Plenty of roaches, enough to overpower whatever XL could create. You can see XL's still got almost 7,000 minerals, but it's just, he's not capable of macroing off. Look at all these larvae just left behind. He finally pulls it in, but it still keeps him just barely under 2,000 with 20 roaches on the way. It should be enough to clean this up, but with that natural going down and more pressure from some hidden infestors, this is looking kind of grim for XL as his supply falls under 100 and Donut's still at 180. It just goes to show the resilience of those roaches, and with Donut capable of keeping the pressure on XL, and XL never able to grab that 4th, never able to get in the economic lead. It came down to Donut just being able to keep the edge. He took an edge and he kept it for long enough that XL began to really have to hold on to every base that he took, and then this one fell to those infestors, and this one fell to those roaches. Good game by Donut. Good game by XL. I wouldn't feel bad about that. Anytime you can get a ZVZ to go past 20 minutes, it's quite an accomplishment. I am big and scary. That's it for me, guys. Thanks.